Joining me this morning for a very special presentation, John Mark Dougan. Welcome back to the show, John.
Hey, thanks. How you doing?
I'm very well. People who haven't seen you before may not know that you are the former Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputy who blew the whistle on massive corruption in the police community over there and then became the target. You had to leave Florida. You had to leave the United States. You're calling us now from an awesome internet connection there at your home in Moscow. You're looking very well, John. Can you tell us what's been happening in the past few days and weeks? The last time we spoke, I was in Norway. You told us that you had contacted and communicated with a high-level employee at Burisma who was ready to blow the whistle. What's the update?
So the update on that is she got beaten. They found her on a Saturday at her office.
Well, sorry for interrupting, but there's an important part that this GoFundMe site played a role, didn't it?
Yeah. So, we needed to find money somehow to get her out, and there was a fundraiser set up on GoFundMe, and they kept insisting on her identity. And I told them several times, no, they weren't getting it. But after a while, after talking to Marina, she said, look, they already know that the documents have been stolen. They're already looking for whoever did it. Now she was beyond suspicion because of her position in the place. But they were starting to search everybody's computers and all that other stuff. And
Burisma was,
she says,
you
look,
mean?
Yeah. So she said, look, I got to get out of here. She said, here's a copy of my passport. Just send it to GoFundMe, and get the money that you need to get me out of here. And so that's what happened. And I sent her passport photo to them, I think, on a Wednesday, and by that Saturday they knew her identification. They knew who she was.
So just to clarify, you sent the passport to GoFundMe. People were having a tough time kind of wrapping their head around the fact that even at really good jobs in Ukraine, the salary is a fraction of what people would be used to as executives here in the United States. So to arrange for the transport of Marina from Kiev to Moscow, where she could begin openly discussing what she knows about the Bidens and other people who are involved with Burisma, she needed money. She needed to travel. She has a family. She was basically abandoning her job, abandoning her home, risking her life. And so you started this GoFundMe. When you sent the information to GoFundMe, within a very short period of time, it wound up in the hands of the people at Burisma who pursued Marina.
That's correct. So,
and
people have to realize that the average salary in Ukraine is $300 a month equivalent. That's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
So even her executive level salary is far less than what you would make a minimum wage in the United States.
Yeah. I think people don't have a clear picture of that. But so they basically approached Marina and they beat the crap out of her.
Yeah, they did. So they took her back to her house. They stole her laptop. They stole a bunch of documents. Document boxes that she had, and they beat her pretty good.
Now, John, I want to let people know that they can learn more about what you're up to. You've started a YouTube channel to let people know what's going on, and we did program a simulcast, but unfortunately it looks like we had the time wrong for some reason. It hasn't started yet, so if anybody is over there at the John Mark Dougan YouTube channel, they can join us over here, and we'll work it out after the show.
Okay.
get the video on there. But people should subscribe. You can search for John Mark Dougan on YouTube, and there's a lot of videos that he's got there. Perhaps a small adjustment can be made right now to get the live stream going. And again, for people who haven't seen John before, he is an IT expert. He's a former U.S. Marine, a former Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputy. I don't know if it's going to be able to start, but we'll give it a shot. And if not, we can, as I said, you and I will arrange to put it on there afterwards. So why didn't they kill Marina? I mean, we're not prepared. There we go. It started up. So people who are watching on John's YouTube channel can check that out over there. So John, we're not ready for Marina to speak to viewers, but she's there with you in Moscow. And prior to the show, you shared some photographs with me of her at the hospital, I presume, in Moscow. Tell us what happened with getting her out of Ukraine.
Oh, that was interesting right there. So we knew that she had been. I knew that she had been beaten on a Saturday, and I said, okay, just hang tight. We'll figure something out. We didn't tell her that we were coming to get her, because we didn't want her getting on the phone and being like, oh, yeah, some guys are coming to get me, We loaded up into a car, drove through Belarus and down through the radioactive forest in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And staked out. We got there, Monday, like on a Monday, probably halfway through the day. We staked out. We did some counter surveillance at her house just to see if anybody was watching her building or whatnot. And then once it got dark, right about 8 p.m., when there are still plenty of people in the street, I walked around the block and cut through some buildings and up the balcony on the back of her building and banged on her window. And she took some clothes and we left. Loaded back up into the car and started driving north again.
This was a huge risk for you to take. I mean, you've got experience as a police officer, you've got experience in the military. This is a full-on military operation, basically. You were entering into, let's face it, hostile territory. If you had been stopped and arrested, you'd be extradited to the United States, where you would face these basically trumped-up charges in Palm Beach County, right? What sort of risk were you taking? Detail that for us.
Well, it is a big risk, I went with a couple of mercenaries that I know, friends of mine, hunting buddies. Yeah. So, but I had done this once before when I planned back in June 2018, I was planning on getting Assange out of the UK. So I had actually gone into Poland.
Whoa!
Yeah.
What happened with that mission?
Oh, he canceled it the last minute.
Julian
He canceled
Assange
the week before.
canceled it.
Yeah.
So you were communicating with him?
Yes.
That's astounding. I have to tell you, John, a lot of people contact me and they say, this guy, he's full of it. How is he connected to Seth Rich? He's connected to now Burisma, all these giant stories. It's difficult for a lot of people to believe, but you've presented us with really compelling evidence for each of these things. Why did Julian Assange cancel this exfiltration?
He was afraid of getting caught.
He would be killed. They'd shoot him if he was trying to escape.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, but I had it planned out really well. I did. Actually, I updated my book because, I wasn't going to write about it, but now that he's been arrested, I could put it in there.
Right.
And
the book, of course, people can purchase from your website, badwolf.com. Oh, wait, you prefer for people to get it from Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's just easier.
Right. but people can also link up with the videos that you've been making on badwolf.com, and they can check out some of your off-road. You've got a lot of experience driving in harsh territories. Did you use the Land Rover to go to Kiev?
Most of the way, yeah. But then when we got to the radioactive forest, before we hit a border crossing, we changed into a Ukrainian car.
That makes sense, because you've got Russian plates that would prompt the
Plates,
police
yeah.
to stop you.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
My first wife was Ukrainian, and I went with her to visit Ukraine in 2003 or maybe 2007. The police do like to stop you and hassle you, and generally you hand them $20 kind of. It's like Mexico in that regard. They're basically looking to stop people and just chat them up until they get bribed. So, all right.
Well,
so
we actually did. We did get stopped, actually.
Yes.
We got stopped on the way back.
I want to get to that, but I want to just remind people that this radioactive forest is not some fanciful thing that you're making up. If it sounds strange to anyone, Chernobyl is in Ukraine, and the disaster occurred very close to Kiev. The town, what's it called? Pripyat? Something like that?
Oh, I can't remember.
I think the town is called Pripyat. And it's totally abandoned. There are still areas of it that have dangerously high levels of radiation. And certainly driving around, kicking up particles and stuff, you're getting exposed to toxic contaminants. So you're driving through this forest, you change cars, you've obviously coordinated with people in Ukraine. This is quite an operation.
Yeah, we did. And I you look at my Facebook page, I know quite a bit of people in Ukraine from my... I'd been to Ukraine before in 2012 or 2013, well, whatever. So I do know a fair number of people there, and of course I know some Russian guys in Ukraine too. So,
So this was a really risky operation for you, because if you were captured in Ukraine, or frankly, even if the authorities in Russia even found out, what if they find out now? You're there under political asylum, and you've admitted here on video that you've traveled out of the country. Are you in danger of being removed from Moscow? What if the authorities find out?
I'm fine.
All right.
So
I like that confidence.
Yeah.
And so what's Marina's status right now? She's recovering from this brutal beating. Why didn't they just kill her?
I mean, look, murder's a whole different level, I mean, they got what they wanted back from her. And
they got her laptop with all the evidence on it.
Yeah.
So now what?
Yeah.
How can she testify in any meaningful way? It's going to be her word against theirs. She doesn't have backups, copies. She could have uploaded this stuff to a PBSOtalk.org type website, the whistleblower website that you had created when you were a Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputy.
She's an accountant. She's not an IT person. I mean, she knows how to use Excel and Citrix and stuff like that. But I mean, she's not like a tech savvy individual.
Guy Dietrich in the comments here, John, is challenging you to prove the Assange claim. Now, first of all, before you even respond to that, I think we need to be very careful with words like proof, okay? It's, I don't like to use that word at all, because it varies depending on the context. If we're talking about a mathematical problem, that's one kind of proof. If we're talking about the court of public opinion, that requires virtually no evidence to consist of proof. If we're talking about a criminal trial in the United States, that's a different standard of proof. Russia, England, civil trial in the US, all of these things have different standards of proof. But to satisfy this comment from Guy Dietrich, which is a fair comment, what sort of evidence can you offer viewers who might doubt this claim that you communicated with Julian Assange about helping to exfiltrate him from the Ecuadorian embassy in London?
Nah, it's a fair question. But in February of that year, February 2008, I was approached by a British friend who has very strong ties to these individuals. Not necessarily WikiLeaks, but WikiLeaks included, but he's also very strong with Brexit, with the Brexit guys and stuff like that. and he was actually shuttling the messages back and forth on a USB stick for me. And he's the one who asked me to come up with this plan. So I can't tell you his name because it would be a significant problem from him. But I did publish in my book. I published the communications, our WhatsApp text messages, detailing some of the stuff. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else he's expecting. I mean, I don't. But I lay it out. I lay it out pretty well in my book.
Right. The book, of course, Bad Wolf. It's in English, despite the title looking very Russian. People can get it on Kindle for free. So if you're an Amazon user who has Kindle, you can read John Mark's book and you can evaluate the evidence that he includes. Guy Dietrich, I encourage you to grab that book and check it out. Abby N is asking, every time we do a show, John, people ask about this, and I'm sorry,
By
but
blinking.
we got to, yes.
It's okay. No, it's all right. I get it. So I have Tourette syndrome, and Tourette's causes me to blink sometimes more than others. So, it's the blinking is my Tourette's. Sorry.
Yes.
But,
so it's a physical tic that you
since I was
cannot
5.
control. People are presuming you're sending messages in Morse code to somebody. I don't think that's the case.
Actually, if I think about it, I can control it, but
All right.
but then it gets very difficult, and then it's like an explosion. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, well, we won't deal with it. We could do a different show about Tourette's syndrome and how it's dealt with. But so what's going to happen next? Marina came with you to Moscow. How long was the drive from Kiev to Moscow?
Well, normally it'd be a 12 or 14-hour drive, but
Wow.
Because we went different ways, we were going over dirt roads and real bad terrain, and of course we had through Ukraine we had a lead car just to make sure a couple of kilometers ahead that there was no like checkpoints or blocks or anything like that. So. It took us like 22 hours each direction.
Wow. So, I mean, were you stopping at hotels? I mean, it's difficult to understand how this sort of an operation would...
straight through.
You just drove. Oh, and you were switching. So this was real military operation. Get in, get out, sneak up to the roof. You didn't want to tell her anything because essentially she's a civilian. She hasn't been trained in operational security techniques. Anything you say to her could risk exposing the operation and getting everybody in huge trouble or maybe even killed.
Yeah, that's correct.
Wow. Okay, so she's recovering now from this beating. You've shown me the photo from the hospital. She was beaten really badly. Did she fear for her life during that process? She must have.
Yeah, she did. And they, I mean, other than beating, they did some pretty bad stuff to her. Well, I'm not going to go into it here.
You speak about it in a previous YouTube video that you did on your channel. And for those who are just joining us right now, John Mark Dougan is my guest. He's got a YouTube channel that we're simulcasting on right now. People can subscribe to the John Mark Dougan YouTube channel, and he's got some more details about the exfiltration of the Burisma Whistleblower Marina that people can read about, I can watch the video about. Now, wait a minute. Where is that video? Is it gone?
No, it should be on my page.
What was the title of it?
I don't know, something about Burisma.
Okay, well, people can find it on there. There we go. The Ukrainian Burisma Whistleblower shocking update. That's the one right there.
Yeah.
So people.
And I wanted to point out something. How I find myself in all these situations.
Yes.
It's actually. So once I became a whistleblower as a cop, right? Naturally, people would come to me with documents and stuff about
Epstein.
And stuff that they wanted kept safe, and it's. I mean, I have so much stuff, and a lot of it I've published online. A lot of it I haven't. Some things I can, some things I can't. But, and now that I'm here, I have people calling me all the time, asking me to help them. I'm helping a guy escape from a country right now.
Wow.
I've helped probably seven, eight, well, this will be my ninth person that
Wow.
I've helped escape out of a country.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So, if you look up Michaela Cantila, he's wanted by the SEC. I helped him get out of the United States, and he sought political asylum here in Russia.
Isn't this dangerous for
Um,
you to do when the authorities in the United States find out that you're helping these people flee? Aren't they going to be annoyed?
Fuck him. Excuse my language.
I hear you. Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, and what you're saying also makes sense. I mean, obviously when I was doing stereoscopic production, I got calls for 3D production all the time. Nobody ever called me
Yeah,
wanting me to interview them to do something like this. Now that I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years, I get a lot of people contacting me wanting to do interviews on YouTube and Facebook. So I get it. You started pbsotalk.org, which was a repository for sort of third rail type information that people couldn't release without risking themselves. So you had a
correct.
WikiLeaks style anonymous operation that allowed people to submit evidence to the website, and it wasn't able to be traced back to them. So you've gained a
That's
reputation
correct.
for that. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and also, one of the most important things about the site was it was a free talk forum. And the cops, they would come and they would post about stuff happening in their departments.
And it's still
So
active, isn't it? Yeah, here it is. PBSO Talk.
yeah,
Yeah.
but not a lot of people post on it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the stuff that's happened. It used to be pbsotalk.com, and
Mm-hmm.
then they seized my domain name
Mm-hmm.
using some BS investigation. So they seized my domain name.
Right.
Um, So I had to make it pbsotalk.ru, and that was causing problems because nobody could find it in the searches since RU is a Russia specific domain name.
Huh.
And then I moved it back over to pbsotalk.org. So, but not a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people still read it, but not a lot of people post there anymore.
Hmm. So what's next for Marina? She's going to recover from this beating, and then what do you plan to do?
I don't know. Just at this point, we're just trying to help her get back on her feet. So. Um, Yeah. So there's unfortunately, uh, GoFundMe didn't come through. So,
Right.
after I got out of here, I told them to go F off and send back their donations.
Did they do that?
Um,
Have they refunded people? To be clear, the GoFundMe campaign you started just a few days before our last interview together, and the idea was to, I think in this conversation, people are maybe getting a little bit of a better idea of where the money would go. It was not just a matter of buying her a plane ticket or something like that. You and several people had to take time. Obviously, you needed food, you needed gas, you needed some
oh,
people.
that was minor. I mean, look, she's got to get an attorney.
Yep.
That's not cheap here in Moscow, but she has to get an immigration attorney. Um, she has to get visas and everything for her family because it's a system of visas. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just come in from Ukraine. Um, uh, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, and I think we were just asking 10,000, but that would have been on the cheap side. So, she had to find a place to live. She has to find a job. Now she has to recover.
Is
So
she
yeah, there's a
legally
lot.
there in, I think you told us that you can come to Russia from Ukraine. You don't need a visa or anything like that. Is that correct? I mean, it's a different country.
No, 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 no. You're talking about Belarus.
Ah,
Yeah,
so
Belarus. You don't
she's
need one.
essentially an undocumented immigrant in Russia.
Yeah, yeah,
She's
but
going to
it's
need
okay.
legal
But
work to address that, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah. So GoFundMe did pay out about dollars, which we put towards all this. And then I just told him to send the rest back because
To the
it got to the
contributors.
point where, yeah.
Right. So what are you going to do to fund it? You've started a Patreon page.
Yeah, Patreon. I also have a donation thing on my website, which is badwolf.com, if anybody wants to go there.
So if people want to join you on Patreon, they can go to patreon.com/badwolf with a V, and they can also visit badwolf.com and just make a contribution there. Obviously, you're not a 501c3, so people will be gifting this money. It's important that people understand that. And I think that people also get a good idea, John, of where all the expense goes in this type of thing. I think, when we first did this, a lot of people, this happens no matter who you are, no matter what you do or say. When you create a campaign of any kind, there's always people out there who accuse you of just doing all this stuff to want money. There's much easier ways to get money than the things that you're describing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not hurting for money here. I'm not like wealthy by any means, but I'm doing okay, and I'm not like hurting for money. So, I don't. There's no need for just anything I can do to help her and get through what she's going through is basically the goal.
Yeah. So what would you, will there be an opportunity could we do another interview in the future, you think, and speak with Marina?
Yeah, I do. So,
okay, great. Let her recover, give her the time she needs. She looked really badly injured.
Yeah. I think I showed you some photos, and she was.
Yeah.
She wasn't a happy camper. So.
Now, there's so many questions running through my mind here. Have you had any communication with like Rudy Giuliani or anybody? Obviously, it seems that for her testimony to really have an impact, she would have to come to the United States or communicate with the president's legal team or something like that?
Yeah, but no, nothing. In fact, I tried to get the FBI to interview her.
Good luck with that.
They just, they're like, no, she can go to, they had the gall to send me a reply back that, she can go to an embassy and speak to, like in Ukraine, and speak to, I forgot the abbreviation that they used, but
NABU, NABU, the National, what is it? National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. Is that it?
No, they wanted her to speak to some FBI agent at the U.S. embassy, but not even like a real FBI agent, like some civilian liaison who's a Ukrainian.
Wow.
It's like, oh, come on.
Listen, GoFundMe. Let's go over that ground again for a second, because you had some back and forth with GoFundMe telling them about the sensitive nature of this person's identity. They insisted that they must have it, and although you don't have any direct evidence that they provided to the people at Burisma, there's certainly no other obvious way that they could have found out other than GoFundMe possibly telling them. GoFundMe has been linked to so many suspicious campaigns, Andrew McCabe, etc. What do you think happened there?
Actually, we do have evidence.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because when she was confronted, they showed her the picture that she had sent to me, that I had of her passport, that I had sent to GoFundMe.
So what happens now to GoFundMe? Any?
Nothing. What can you do?
No recourse.
No. But I caution people not to use them for any sensitive whistleblower type things, because
how about maybe not using them at all if they're interested in exposing the identity of someone who might get killed as a result? I think Rob Solomon, the CEO of GoFundMe, should answer for this.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Wow. Well, I don't know. What else would you like to say, John? I mean, there's so much here that we want to unpack, but I feel like we've got a good idea of the status so far. Any other details that we haven't covered?
No, but if anybody has any questions, they can either write me on my page or write me an email or whatever,
What's the best
and I'm
email
happy
for
to
people
address
to
it.
reach you on?
JD@badwolf.com.
Badwolf.com is the website that people can go to. And also, don't forget to get onto the John Mark Dougan YouTube channel. You know, maybe what we could do, John, is we could take some questions from the chat. I know there's a lot of people who are watching us right now who have to have questions. So a lot of talk about coronavirus. Anything happening there in Moscow relative to coronavirus?
No, I mean, when that all started breaking bad, um, the Russian government, they just shut down everything from China. I mean, they were smart; they were right on it, and because they had the two cases that slipped through, but that's been it. So, um, but I hold on one sec. Can you hand me my phone? Um, on January 27th, I actually sent a message to my ex because, I'm worried about my kids.
For coronavirus. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care if my ex gets it, but
Ooh.
my
But isn't it,
kids,
I mean, it's
that's,
not deadly. It seems to be a little bit of a news panic more than anything else. I think Breitbart had a
yeah,
story.
yeah, I think you're right. But on January 27th, I wrote to her, please go out and buy surgical masks before it's too late and they're sold out. I suspect coronavirus is going to explode in the U.S. Please take precautions.
Yeah.
And then I also wrote, Russia has blocked all travelers from China. Um, and then I heard from some of my friends here that China secretly has over 150,000 cases and it's exploding. And each person is going to infect 14 others on average. So,
I've heard that as
and
well. But I mean, I'm just curious, like, unless, when we heard about Ebola, that was pretty scary because it's like rotting out your guts and you bleed and die from the inside. I mean, I don't want people to get sick, but the flu doesn't seem like the worst thing in the world. And the New England Journal of Medicine, certainly a very respected medical publication, even in the mainstream, has come out with this article saying that coronavirus could be no worse than the flu. And the number of people dying from it seems low compared to the amount of reporting and hysteria that's being fomented.
that could be. That could be. Except I think there's probably more than what's being reported.
Maybe so. Back to our core
Yeah.
topic, there are some questions that people have. What about her family? Dr. Phalanges is watching us on Periscope and wants to know. You told us
Ah.
previously she has a family. Are they still there? Are they in danger?
No, her family is in Crimea right now.
All right.
Um, yeah, so because that's where her grandparents are from. So that's where her kids' grandparents. That's where her parents are from.
Right.
So they're holed up there, safe. Everything's good. We'd like to try to get them here, within next month, if we can swing it, if we can make it happen financially.
Right. Yeah, we've got some jokers in the chat as well, which is always to be expected.
That's okay.
Yeah. CIA trolls, I think they're all over your chat there. All right.
That's
Well,
okay.
yeah, it's so. And have you had any additional communication with Julian Assange? He's been in the news, or WikiLeaks, any
No,
of those
no,
people? No.
no. The last I heard from one of his representatives was like June, like in the middle of June, 2000. 18. And hold on, let's see here.
Yeah. Last Wave Dave agrees that the vast majority of healthy people will recover even if infected with coronavirus. And
that could be.
KC Tenor is worried about next election year, we might have the Budweiser virus. I agree with that. It's a serious concern.
The Budweiser virus?
You know, Corona beer. He's joking,
Yeah.
of course.
Oh.
But obviously there's economic impact, and I mean, frankly, just the hysteria that's being generated is having a major impact. Everybody's just on edge and nervous. But I mean, John, this is what you're describing with Marina, what's happened to you. This is what happens to whistleblowers, people who come forward and share damaging information about dangerous and powerful people. They get crushed. They don't get protected in the way that Adam Schiff's whistleblower was protected and hidden from the authorities. They get pursued. They get charges brought against them. They get their bank accounts closed. They have pressure put on them and their families. They get beaten up like Marina has. She's got to be very psychologically unsettled by this as well.
Yeah. You had the question about Assange earlier before. I don't know if it can focus too close.
Yeah, there you go.
These are some text messages that we exchanged about through Belarus, Poland, no problem, blah, blah, blah. So clear driving to England. So, and these were July 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
And we were discussing that we still had a week to get him out.
Talking about Assange there. The professor. He's the professor. Professor X.
Yeah. Yep.
I remember hearing you saying something about referring to him as Professor X in the past. That's interesting to see.
Yeah.
Well, John, I'm intrigued by this latest wrinkle in your story here. We got to stay on top of this for sure. I want to remind people that they can support what you're doing by joining you on patreon.com/badwolf. And it's with a V. Bad Wolf is spelled VOLF. And that's a good way for people to support this effort in an ongoing kind of way. They can also purchase your book, Bad Wolf, from Amazon. It's probably sold with other retailers as well, right?
I think you get at Barnes & Noble's, actually. I think I saw it on their site.
There you go. So there's a way to get it without helping fund the CIA. But if you have a Kindle, you can get the book for free. You can read it and review it and see some more information about some of the text messages that John has just shared with us. Make sure, if you're on YouTube, to get over to the John Mark Dougan YouTube channel. And we're going to definitely stay on top of this story, John. We'll do some more updates as you see fit and as Marina becomes more able to do that. Anything else you want to share with us for today?
No, actually, here, I like this one.
Okay, sure.
If you can see.
Yep.
This is about him getting cold feet. And my friend, I told him I could get in, and I told him I would come, actually, to the UK. And he said, isn't that a bit dangerous? And I said, I can prove I can get in, which means I can get him out. Are you willing to take the risk? Sure.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
it is what it is.
And the skeptical out there, of course, John, will say, you're a very sophisticated IT guy. You could be sending these text messages to anyone, but, it's evidence. Whether it's proof or not is up to the people evaluating that evidence, but...
Well, I mean, look, I could probably, I've been thinking about maybe getting you an interview with the guy I was working with, but there's a problem that you wouldn't be able to reveal his name and
then people wouldn't believe
anything
that.
about.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to, we certainly don't want to risk anybody's safety, but I think
Exactly.
that as we move forward and continue to just, try to determine what you're going to do next with regard to this Burisma whistleblower, I mean, we certainly would think that Giuliani would want to hear what she has to say. He's interviewed a lot of people from Ukraine, Shokin and some of the other people that were involved in some of this controversy surrounding the Bidens and the whole Burisma situation. So I'm going to continue to think about how I could possibly help you to get in touch with some of those people. And I'm sure we'll be doing some more interviews about that. And if anybody has any ideas beyond what you've already suggested, yeah.
It's interesting when you talk about Shokin. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Because there was one of the things that she said in her statement about a month and a half ago when I put it out was that when Shokin's investigators came to the office, that the CEO of Burisma called Hunter Biden.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It wasn't. I don't know if it was Levchesky at that point. I think he was on the run.
Got it.
Yeah, they had called Hunter Biden, and Hunter Biden said, "Don't worry, we'll take care of it."
Wow.
Now, and then just the other day, I read that this Shokin guy basically said that verbatim in his statement. So. This girl's got some credibility.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting, John. We definitely want to stay on top of this. I mean, Rudy Giuliani seems like the guy you've got to get to. He's gathering all the information. He's obviously in direct contact with President Trump. He's got his podcast, The Common Sense with Rudy Giuliani. Oh, and somebody's calling me there on Skype, and now everybody has their phone number. I don't know who that is, but let's get that out of there. So, but Rudy Giuliani was interviewing Victor Shokin in his last podcast. So I'm going to see what I can do about trying. So 4K says, I don't think Giuliani plans to do a damn thing with this information insofar as any legal action. Well, I don't know about that. He's the president's lawyer, and he's trying to defend him. So certainly, just putting it out is doing something with it. Last Wave Dave tells us the first British death from coronavirus was confirmed yesterday. I mean, again, how do I know that? We've got somebody in England who says this person died from coronavirus. They probably could have died from anything.
Oh.
We're off?
No, good. Who knows?
I think we're on. We're still on.
Speaking of which, I have a whole refrigerator full of Corona. That's waiting for me.
And it is nighttime there in Moscow. So I definitely want to thank you, John, for your time. I want to thank you for what you're doing to try to bring this information forward. Definitely, we wish Marina a speedy recovery from what was a brutal attack. People are going to want to purchase the book, Bad Wolf, from Amazon or wherever books are available. You can read all about John Mark Dougan's harrowing escape from the United States and to political asylum there in Russia. Join him also on patreon.com/badwolf. Support his effort to protect the Ukrainian Burisma whistleblower. John, thanks again for all you're doing, and thanks for bringing this information to us here. I'll speak to you very soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thanks everybody for watching. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to become a sponsor of Crowdsource the Truth. I can't bring you great guests like John Mark Dougan without your support. So please visit subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and become a sponsor today. You're going to get access to a huge and constantly growing library of sponsor exclusive content. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow for Sunday with Charles.